Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley Rose and today is another segment of Goddess Gossip where we don't actually gossip, but we do spill the tea on what it means to show up for yourself and become the woman of your dreams. So feel free to grab a nice hot cup of Earl Grey, organic chai, passion, wild sweet orange, girl, whatever kind of tea or coffee you like, and let's get right into it. So today's topic is intentionality. I've intentionally put my notes right here to the side, so as you see me looking off over there, that's why. And as we shape our lives as women, I can't think of too many things that are more important than being intentional. So let's begin with the definition. Intentionality, the quality of various mental states, i.e. thoughts, beliefs, hopes, desires, etc., that are being directed towards some object or state of affairs. The root of the word intentionality is derived from the Latin intentio, meaning directed at. Some common examples of intentionality are keeping an umbrella in your bag to ensure that you never get drenched when it rains unexpectedly. Setting aside 10% of your income every week to contribute to a long-term investment account to make sure that you're financially secure. Writing your thoughts in a journal every day to ensure that you always stay on top of your mental wellness when it's time to do those check-ins with yourself. Some quotes that I love on the subject are as follows. Change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. That's by Glenda Cloud. Also, the late great Jim Rohn says that when we show up to a new environment, we should think less about what am I gaining here, and we should think more about what am I becoming here. Mae Jemison, who was the first Black woman in space in 1992, had this to say: "You have the right to be involved. You have something important to contribute, and you have to take the risk to contribute it." End quote. And honestly, I just love that. See, when we focus more on who we can become rather than what we can gain, we position ourselves to be on the receiving end of an abundance of opportunities. Also, when we choose to have the courage to make our own personal contribution to the betterment of the world, there is no telling the number of lives we can impact positively and how that's going to affect generations in the future. See, evolution is the universal rule of existing as a human, and we can choose to grow or not to grow, but no matter what, we are always changing for the better or for the worse, whether we focus on it or not. So let us be intentional about becoming better in the areas that matter to us as women, and along the way, let's dive into some positive vibes just to keep us inspired. Now here's the thing. Intentionality in its simplest form consists of what we think, believe, feel, say, and do. And when each of these areas are aligned with the future that we want, we are empowered and equipped to create that future. And with that being said, I'd like to share some phenomenal firsts. These are 10 very intentional women throughout history. And this list is going to help serve as a foundation of inspiration for us to build on as we navigate our own journeys and continue to become the women that we can be proud of. So let's dive in. In 1900, tennis player Charlotte Cooper became the first woman in history to win an Olympic gold medal. In 1910, Raymond de la Roche was the first woman to receive a pilot's license. In 1863, Harriet Tubman was the first woman to lead an armed military operation during the Civil War. In 1972, Katharine Graham became the first woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. In 1963, Valentina Tereshkova was the first woman in space. In 1975, Junko Tabei was the first woman to climb Mount Everest. And in 1917, Edith Wharton became the first woman to win a Pulitzer Prize. In 1987, Aretha Franklin became the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And in 2010, Kathryn Bigelow was the first woman to win an Academy Award for Best Director. Also, in 2023, Beyoncé Giselle Knowles-Carter became the first woman to collect a total of 32 Grammys, solidifying her history as the most Grammy awarded recording artist of all time. What these women have in common is that they knew what they wanted and they took consistent action to pursue their goals and accomplish them. In short, they were intentional. I too have learned about intentionality from many areas of my life, but what I want to highlight today in my story time are my experiences in the bridal industry. Anyone who knows me knows I've been in sales for most of my career, and one of the things that I used to sell was wedding dresses. I'm talking, she said yes to the dress, cheers, clapping, celebrating, clinking champagne glasses, the whole shebang. And I worked at a few different shops in a few different states, so I won't list the names of the companies, but I will list them off in the order that I worked there, and I will share the lessons that I learned. So, bridal shop number 1. I learned to have discernment and to protect myself from energy vampires. So, coming in, I was the girl who had never done sales, but I had this super chipper, cheerful, positive attitude and mentality. And that can-do mentality really helped me. Over time, I became one of the top sales girlies. I was promoted into management, and I was helping out the other girls to do their thing and do it well. But there was this girl who worked there. She was very, very sweet. But she would come to work every day and tell me all about everything wrong in her life, which was everything. And eventually, I just grew sick of it. One day I came and I was like, not today. I don't want to hear it. The next day, same thing. It persisted for a week. Finally, she came to me and she said, "Hey, are you okay? You just seem a bit down, and I normally vibe off of your energy. And so I need you to be cheerful like always." That was the day that I learned to be intentional about the professional relationships that I choose to engage in, because energy vamping is so not the vibe. Next, in bridal shop number 2, I learned to keep growing and to stop resting on previous sales success. So here's the thing. I had moved to a brand new state and I was working in a brand new shop, which meant basically a brand new market, but I didn't know that yet. See, I was top sales girl. I was in management. I'm good at this. But what I forgot was to continue to grow, because anything you can be good at is something that you can also be great at. I began resting on my laurels and my sales numbers were trash, absolute trash. I didn't get any better until I went back to reading the books, studying the practices, the closing techniques, and doing all of the things that I was doing at first to become really good at my job. Eventually, my numbers at bridal shop number 2 got better and I was excited about them. But in the beginning, I had to learn very quickly to not rest on that previous success. I learned to be intentional, to grow from good to great wherever you go and whatever you do. Bridal shop number 3, I learned to practice self-control and navigating what I can only describe as, there's not a nice way to say this, a shitty manager. Man, she was bad. I won't say she was a bad person, but she was a shitty manager, truly. And it was one of those things where when I first showed up to bridal shop 3, they were struggling. So I jumped in there, I got them going, I got their numbers up, I put them back in the black. We rebranded, we did all the things, we had a great time. It was a really small boutique kind of setting, so it wasn't a big team. And I had pretty much proven my value in my work to that place, for sure. So when a day came and I had a genuine crisis, which I don't have very often, I had a genuine crisis, I expected just a little bit of understanding. It's not what I got. She was very, very callous, and I lost it. I told her, this is exactly how I feel, and this is exactly what I think about you, and that is exactly what got me fired. I learned to be intentional about navigating shitty managers, shitty bosses, and practicing self-control, because just because you're great at what you do doesn't mean you can't still get fired. So, bridal shop number 4, I learned to set boundaries and stop oversharing. So here's the thing. I'm a bit of a walking contradiction. See, I'm very private about the things that I'm private about. And then I'm open, super open, about literally everything else. So when I showed up at bridal shop number 4, I was doing great, numbers were good, all was well. And I was in a very challenging relationship. See, we were fundamentally incompatible, but I wasn't willing to admit that yet. Instead, I would show up every day and tell this one person all about everything that had happened before in my challenging relationship. It's like the tables had turned and suddenly the girl from Bridal Shop 1 was now me, the energy vampire. I was her. So it took years. It's funny because this person never said anything, but I thought about it years later and I thought, I must have been so draining. Now, from that, just after years of reflection, I learned to be intentional about focusing on my work when I'm at work and not my personal life. Eventually, I broke up with that guy and moved on to a different kind of industry with a different kind of sales. And finally, I was able to create the kind of financial stability that I desired. However, I learned the hustle of sales and the art of closing from my bridal shop days. And I still carry those lessons with me along with the other lessons that I learned about being intentional. Although the money wasn't that great, those say yes to the dress moments were so much fun and totally worth remembering. I'm grateful for that season of my life and for everyone that I met along the way. So, how about you, goddess? Have you been inspired by these amazing women today? Are you ready to be intentional and consistent to accomplish more than you ever thought you could? I know I am. What experiences have made you more persistent in working towards your goals? What lessons along the way in your career, relationships, communities have inspired you to be intentional about your dreams? How are some of those same lessons that helped you in the past still helping you today? Let's remember that intentionality applies to what we think, believe, feel, say, and do. And if any of these areas need work, then it's worth it to put in that work. You, goddess, are worth the work. And when each of these areas is aligned with the future that we want, we are empowered and equipped to create that future and become the woman of our dreams. That's all for today's episode. Feel free to leave your thoughts and stories in the comments below. I look forward to reading them. And until next time, goddess, thank you so much for joining me today. Take care, go be great, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.